Hi, in this video I'm going to show off this Epson HX-20 with a Small Talk Plus interface. Okay, I got something new here. Let's take a look and see what it is. Opened up. And what we have here is an Epson HX-20, considered by some to be the world's first laptop. Hefty little thing. But what makes this one interesting, and when I grabbed this is my first HX-20, but when I grabbed this one is this expansion unit that says Small Talk Plus on it. And supposedly what this is some kind of a speech synthesizer. I don't actually know how this speech synthesizer works, what kind of chip is used in it. Is it a phonetic speech synthesizer like a Votrax or an SPO256? Is it an LPC synthesizer? Could even be just a D to A converter, and it's all done in software. It dates from about 1985. I doubt it'll turn on. No, definitely not. If there is a battery in it, the battery is most certainly dead. Okay, before I crack it open, let's take a look. So it's got the micro cassette drive over here, it's got the printer, the expansion unit goes on the side. They make different expansion units for it. This one is the Small Talk Plus expansion unit. Decent keyboard. It's got a display there, no idea if that works. On the back we've got RS-232 serial power adapter. There's a clip here that'll let us take the cassette out. It's a little bit loose here, so screws have been removed, so somebody has been into it before. We'll see what they have done. Curious in here. Kind of ROM tray where you'd go in to replace the ROMs with different ones if you wanted to. Okay, it did just unplug. Oh, and then there's a couple screws that hold these brackets on. Anyway, what I am most curious about is what kind of chips we find in here in the speech synthesizer unit. So I did pay a little bit extra, a little bit of a premium to get this one that came with the speech synthesizer compared to a few of the other options on eBay. Board kind of comes open like that. Whoa! It is an SSI 263. That is equivalent to the Votrax SCO2. Sweet! And let's see over here. Oh, don't want that thing's exposed there. Wouldn't mind covering that up to make sure those EEPROM windows are good and opaque. Nice. Votrax inside. There. Okay, I got it apart. It just took a little bit of work on these connectors. You kind of you kind of lift up on it and it loosens on the ribbon cable, then you can pull the ribbon cable out. So there's one there, one here, and one back here. As we can already see, the batteries are shot. I mean, they are, I don't know how old those batteries are. We'll find out when we take this open, but basically like a 30-year-old NiCad, it's turned into hazardous waste by now. HX-20 parts and service, Star Technology Corp. I'll have to probably open this thing up to actually get a better idea of the date on the battery. Okay, so we've got it out. If there's one positive thing, it's this compartment isn't all full of nasty, hazardous waste. So that is good news, I suppose. And I do have some batteries. I could build a new NiCad pack and put a new NiCad pack in it. Okay, and here we have some sub-C NiCad cells. This would have been similar to the cells that were originally in the thing, so I will assemble these and make a new battery pack that is not oozing toxic waste all over the place. Okay, so I made a new power pack here. It is 4 sub-C NiCad cells all soldered together with a little plug coming out and wrapped up in Kapton tape. And then on the laptop itself, I used the original plug and I soldered to it this thing here, which is a mating plug that will hook up to my battery. Now the original wire, the red wire going into this plug, was extremely corroded. I mean, it was so corroded I almost couldn't solder to it. I had to cut it like way at the end. Kind of annoying, but I think I've got it good now. I did start to pull it apart so I can get a look at the other side of the board. So I can show on the video here what it looks like. And there is the top side. I hope that is useful. People would like to see it. You know, we've got a bank of ROM chips here. We've got RAM chips there. I don't know, that may be more RAM. We'd have to look at that. A couple of CPUs probably. Lots of electrolytic capacitors spread about. You know, I may want to put those under some scrutiny and see if there's a capacitor issue leading to some stability. We'll see. Okay, let's turn it on. The power switch is over here on the side.
Smalltalk TM 2.1.
So we've got Smalltalk TM 2.1 word processor calculator terminal. Now the first time I powered this on, there was a problem. There were 3 columns up here on the display that weren't lit. So a column about halfway down through the display, kind of 3 lines down from the top. And my first thought was, oh boy, you know, I can't repair an LCD. If an LCD is broken, I'm going to have to either find a new one or get a whole new donor laptop. But fortunately, it turned out not to be that big of a deal. Now, I didn't film myself repairing it, but I did take a few still shots under the microscope. So here we are looking at the underside of the LCD panel, and you can see I've scratched a few areas with my fiberglass scratch pen to scratch off some of the dirt and the coating. And you can see there's 3 traces here, at least 3, that are broken. And what happened was some of the corrosion from the NiCad batteries got on it and ate away those traces. So that is responsible for the 3 columns that weren't lit on the display. Now I went about fixing this. The first thing I tried to do is just bridge the solder across them, but that really didn't work. Where that NiCad corroded it, that's like solder repellent. Nothing wants to stick to that, so what I did is I cut a couple little tiny pieces of wire, put them on there, and then kind of drag soldered the wire onto the trace. And that actually seems to have worked. You can see a picture of that here. Okay, in case you're curious, here is the top half of the case. The keyboard is down here. The display board is right in here, and you can see the little spot I repaired was right here, which is where this flipped over to the top of the NiCad batteries, and it got that corrosion on. So that's where I did my repair. And you can see that I have repaired it. And of course, the proof is here. The display is working, and there's no missing columns. Now I figured out a few things. The first thing you do when you get this thing is you have to set it up. It comes uninitialized, so if I hit Control ampersand,
Enter date and time. MMDDYYHHMMSS.
so it wants me to enter the date and time. 0301 21 185700. I hope it's taking a 24-hour clock. I'm going to hit return.
Welcome to Smalltalk TM version 2.1. Copyright C1985 by Computer Inc. Corp. Fort Wayne, Indiana. All rights reserved. Written by Douglas Joffrey and Jeremy Corp. Smalltalk TM 2.1.
So that was kind of neat. It actually printed out a notice acknowledging the people who wrote the software. I mean, how often does software do that anymore? So anyway, it's now set up. If we push the time date button, it'll tell us the time and date.
It's 6:57 p.m. on March 1.
And we're up here with this menu where we can do word processor, calculator, or terminal. Let me hit calculator.
Smalltalk TM 1.1.
Now the calculator is kind of weird because you'd think you would use the numbers up here to be numbers, but you don't. Those are actually functions like degree, radian, tangent, cosine. The numbers are over here. Here they are. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They're over here in kind of a numeric keypad. And you got to remember that this thing was designed for vision impaired people, so maybe it was easier for them to use a numeric keypad over here than it was to use the number keys. I assume they had their readings. Let me do
1, 2, 3, plus 4, 5, equals 168.
Now let's see, can I do it times? Multiply is the P.
Times
Don't want to do that.
1, 0 equals 1680.
So if you are vision impaired, you could, there's a little nub there to help you find your spot. You could operate this thing pretty well, I think. Well, how about the menu button? There we go. Now it also has a word processor, so let me hit W.
W. WorkTalk TM 3.0. Main.
So if we just hit return, then we will enter the edit mode.
Space.
And Control A will tell us our current position.
C1, L1, P1.
So C1, L1, P1, that was column 1 of line 1 of paragraph 1.
T, H, I, S, space I, S, space A, space T, E, S, T, space O, F, space T, H, E, space D, B, S, O, N, space H, X, dash, 2, 0.
And if so, you see I typed it and it overflowed onto the next line. If I hit Control A,
C12, L2, P1. P.
yeah, so Control K and J are up and down. So if we hit Control S, it'll read all the text.
This is a test of the
Now this thing has different rates and pitches. So
pitch 4. This is a test of the pitch 5. This is a test of the pitch 1. This is a test of the pitch 2. This is a test of the pitch 3. This is a test of the
and different rates how fast it can talk.
rate 4. This is a test of the rate 5. This is a test of the rate 1. This is a test of the rate 2. This is a test of the rate 3. This is a test of the
Easy enough. Let's
space.
wonder if it could say its own name.
This is a test of the Epson HX-20.
Yep. And then we can escape with this.
Main.
And here we could print this if I had the printer installed. The printer's not installed. We could save it to tape if I had a tape installed. Right now I think I have no tape, so let me hit T.
Tape.
And
S. File name. T. E. S. T. Hello. No cassette in drive.
No cassette in
Okay.
drive. Yeah, I have not bought any micro cassettes for it, but
Okay.
if we'd had micro cassettes, we could have used them. Let's see, can we go back to the main menu?
Smalltalk TM 2.1.
I don't have any devices hooked up, but presumably if we did, we could try out the terminal.
Turtalk TM 1.3. Portalk.
And there's nothing hooked up to the port, so maybe it's not surprising that we can't talk to anyone.
TPST.
I mean, we can type characters, but they're going nowhere.
Smalltalk TM 2.1.
Now there's a couple things here that aren't listed. For example, if we hit Control B, it will go into Basic. Now we're in Epson Basic. Now I have to warn you, every time I've done this so far, I've managed to lock up or otherwise corrupt the laptop. I think maybe we have a few glitches inside, but let's try it. Yeah, see, it flipped out. So we're going to have to figure out what's up with Basic, why Basic doesn't work. Let's reset it.
Smalltalk TM 2.1.
Okay, so it turns out to use Basic, all I had to do was read the manual. It says right here, to use Basic, hit Control B, then you have to type login to, then you have to type mset 4100. And this cuts off the section where the speech programs reside, so your basic programs do not override the special speech program. So I think when we were typing in Basic before, we must have scrambled up. The speech software must be occupying similar space in memory. So let's try this again following the instructions. We're in Basic. Then we're going to do login to. Then we're going to do memset 4100. Now let's try it 10. Yay, that's looking better. 30. Go to 10. Alright, will the break key stop it? It did. Now to make it speak in Basic, we actually would have to type a whole bunch of extra stuff. We would have to do some stuff here where we're writing to memory, various things, and then we would have to do this down here. So you have to enter a little subroutine. I don't think I'm going to bother to type all of this, but maybe I will. I'll have to think about it. It'd be kind of fun to write a basic program, but I'd like to get to the point where I can at least save my basic program to cassette if I'm going to go to all that effort. So I did take the printer out so I can work on it. This is the printer mechanism here. It comes out of the laptop. It's got a little ribbon cable that hooks it up. Now one thing that's interesting about this printer is it's only got a single motor. And this motor will cam the head back and forth. So let's see if I can turn it. It's not the easiest thing to turn by hand. You can probably see it moving the head back and forth. Head's back here. And it will also advance the paper. So every time it comes around a full cycle, there's a little cam comes back and touches a gear back here and kicks the paper over one cycle. So when it's running, it would run the head back and forth, and each time it gets the end, kicks out an additional line. There is a read switch in it someplace that will tell it when it's at its home position, so it knows when it's all the way over. It's got maybe a half a dozen little impact dot printers in it. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. So what the manual, there is a technical manual, and it told me what to do. And to put it across the two motor leads. So there's the two motor leads. And it's supposed to measure 80 ohms. And it's certainly not reading 80 ohms. It's measuring some weird 380 and kind of bouncing all over the place. So maybe there is something wrong in this motor. Maybe it's got some bad brushes or something. Unfortunately, motor... Whoops, there, I touched the probes together. Unfortunately, motor not quite working. So I think what I need is a new printer mechanism. So I can try to scavenge a printer mechanism from another printer, or I may try to source a new one. So I have managed to find a printer called, I think it M150 from Epson that looks a lot like this, but it doesn't have the flex cable. So I don't know how much grief that is going to give me, not having a flex cable. Would I have to make my own flex cable? It's just got pads there. Could I cut this one off and solder it on there? I'm not sure. Another thing, maybe one could pull out the motor and either repair this motor, or one could swap in the motor from the other one. But anyway, we will try to get the printer going at another time. Okay, I still want to try to get this printer going, so what I've done is I've hooked it up to my benchtop supply. I took and I soldered a couple wires onto it, these little wires here, just so that I have something more convenient to clip to than trying to use the flex cable. And I'm going to hit it with about 4 volts or so, so let me turn it on. Alright, there we go. Had a little bit of an initial inertia, and then it started going. So it is going around, look at that. Okay, and here we can see it with the top cover removed, so you can see there is actually a little gearbox inside of here. Motor comes out, goes in the gearbox. Let's turn it on. I have put some oil in there, and I think it's all spinning pretty freely now. Okay, it's time to try out the printer. I've written a short poem. Let's take a look at it. It's, maybe 4, maybe 5 lines long. Let's see if we can print it. So let's hit P to print. So we can select our print device. I'm going to print to the speech synthesizer by pushing the V. Go back. So this should make it say the entire document.
Very gentle little rabbits, please was white as snow. Everywhere that very wet the lamp was sure to go. Print.
Okay, let's switch the device to the micro printer.
Micro device. Print.
And let's go. And there you can see my printout. So the printer is working. So at this point I think I have managed to get every single part of this computer working. The tape was working, the speech synthesizer is working, the printer is now working, the battery's replaced, the display is repaired. I think it's good to go. I think it's in as good as new condition. So I'm very pleased. Okay, that's about it for my demo of the Epson HX-20 with the Small Talk Plus interface. I'm really liking this thing. I think of the pieces of vintage gear that I have, it's one of the cooler items that I have, maybe in the top 5 or top 10 cool items that are unique. Just the engineering that went into this. It's a very well designed little computer. It runs forever on those NiCad batteries. It's got the cassette, it's got the printer, it's got the display. And the speech interface is really well integrated into it. I could see how this was probably really an asset for vision impaired people back in the day. So I'm glad I have it. Okay, so I talked to the seller of this device. That was Yuri, and Yuri's dad is the one who had this computer. He used to do repairs on VTech equipment. VTech is the manufacturer of this thing. And people would bring in stuff for his dad to fix, and his dad would fix them. This one must have sat around for a while and never quite got fixed, but it's good that it was retained all this time and it was able to get sold and end up in my hands, and I feel like I was able to do a successful repair of it. Thank you for watching my video. Please visit my website at www.smbaker.com for more electronics projects and sandrail stuff. Bye.